Hello and welcome everyone to episode number 45 at the Indie Football Podcast. Every single day is a joy for my co host Anukar since the day we have started this podcast. But there have been some days where he's been a bit happier, a bit more chirpier, and a bit more content doing this podcast. And it's one of these episodes today where we have Roshan with us. He's part of LFC Ahmedabad, and we are going. I'm really excited to these kinds of episodes because I am or more often than not just overboard. Oh, I love all the Liverpool content that comes my way. Thank you, Roshan, for taking out the time. How are you?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. How about you guys?
Yeah, I
You're
mean,
doing nice,
Anukar
I'm good.
sir, I'll let you take the center stage in elucidating your enthusiasm for this episode where you have a fellow Liverpool fan as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
absolutely.
like Doi fan has, become so happy, so used to me being happy with Liverpool fans. Even he says that he has started loving Liverpool content. But yeah,
Absolutely.
Darshan Bhai is someone who I have known through LFC Ahmedabad, a very good supporters club. Really, some club, which is doing really well. Recently, they have become really active on social media,
Hmm.
Instagram, YouTube. Like you see their videos, and they are coming out with some really good content. In fact, though you would be, happy to know that they have been also talking about cricket at times. Like on the
Oh,
LFC Ahmedabad channel, they have been talking about the views of the India versus Australia Test match. I think they reviewed a couple of Test matches, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
Roshan, right?
एक
Yeah,
एक किया था दूसरा दूसरा we had scheduled it but I think वो हो नहीं पाया but again
right,
the
right.
only reason we had done that first test match was because we didn't have anything Liverpool to cover like कुछ कर नहीं रहा था there was nothing going on so we were like okay something has to go out and I think it is very quintessential of a Indian fan base. You know, you are a Liverpool fan, but eventually you've been brought up around cricket. You
Absolutely.
cricket
absolutely.
doesn't go away, and so we
And
were like, "ठीक है यार, we can indulge both of the things, and we don't have to be super guilty about like yeah, Liverpool fans है तो सिर्फ Liverpool content होना चाहिए." And I think I've seen other. There's one bigger podcast I think run by a few comedians and they talk about other sports as kachra as in their section they say so I'm
yeah,
like okay yeah it's okay cricket is a part of our life and so why not we have done one we'll probably do some more but again it will also be dependent on how Liverpool is doing again Liverpool related information hai and there is things that are going around then sure and if not then थोड़ा stagnate हो जाता है तो then we'll definitely come back
Well,
to
it's
cricket
like
as well.
you guys invited me for the Liverpool versus Brentford preview, but I think if you have a cricket one, like you should really ask Doi for it because
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
he
up
has
for it.
like really worked with Delhi
absolutely.
And
Capitals and like is very active. And
Oh, very
like I
nice.
met him through cricket only because
Ah,
he has been
yeah,
writing a lot of blogs and stuff about cricket and like cricket is
right.
his first game. So
So in
even I
our
won't tell the password to our viewers, but one of the passwords of our social media
yeah.
pages is related to cricket, somewhere related to cricket. So yeah,
nice, nice.
that's
I
how much you're
I
obsessed with
think
it.
हमारे group में आशुतोष is a huge cricket fan and also Vatsal who is another group member and he's also a cricket fan and I think he's doing his own cricket podcast. That's kind of a school assignment that he's doing for his
Oh,
sports. I think he's
which
into
school is
sports
this? I
journalism
want to
sort
go
of
to
a
this
course.
school.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
he's doing something sports related and so his coursework is revolving around that and so as an assignment or I think as a like a longer thing he's doing this monologue-ish kind of podcasts about cricket matches and so
Yeah.
that's how it kind
Let's
of
just
stemmed up.
talking about sports and cricket. Like cricket changes a lot of people, and like it brings about a lot of changes in how someone thinks and how someone perceives things. Like it becomes a
Right,
part of everyone's lives. So
right,
Darshan, so it's like we had Darshan Bhai, who as is very much influenced by football in his life. So Roshan Bhai, like for being a Liverpool fan, like more than the games, more than anything else, how much has football, the game of football, and Liverpool's presence in it has an effect on you in your normal life, and how much has it changed you as a person?
ah So I mean, I'll probably go through the journey, and that way I
Yeah,
can
please.
relate it to it.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So my footballing journey kind of started. My interest kind of peaked when 2006 World Cup had happened. I hadn't necessarily watched the whole World Cup, but there was a whole hype about Italy versus France final, and then
The
so
headbutt.
next, yeah, and the next day newspaper articles about, like, I didn't see the game, but then I definitely, even not knowing anything about the sport, I would say ki you can't headbutt somebody, right? So I
Yeah.
Right.
was like, so
Unless you're Darwin Nunez.
unless you're Darwin Nunes. So again, at that point of time, I was staying in a very small town in UP where my mom was working, and so I was staying with her, and so we had probably like 6 to 8 hours of electricity the whole day. And the
Oh.
best part was you would get the whole programming of like sports. I was a huge sports fan, so at that point I was playing badminton, but I was good. I was into cricket. I was used to watch cricket a lot, and at that time I think we had ESPN and Star Sports, two separate channels, but
Mhm.
similar kind of content was going around. I used to be a huge Sports Center fan back then, so I would
Same, I
watch both.
swear I was about to say that Sports Center and the floating headlines,
Right,
the not headlines,
Yeah.
exactly.
floating lines that used to come at the bottom of the page. And
Right.
I remember, like, I would like to break you at this
No, no,
point
no,
just
sorry.
because I remember Eden Hazard was getting signed, and it was like a couple of decades back, like somewhere around
Right.
that.
Hmm.
And it was so much in the news. It used to come on Sports Center,
Hmm.
and everyone was like so obsessed with it, and lots of clubs were in the line for him. And then
Hmm.
one day there was this interview on Sports Center,
Right.
and like everyone got crazy when as soon as he said that he's gonna go to Chelsea, and it was like he was the next
Right.
big thing and all. And
Yeah.
like it was a different sort of an era because we all used to wait that. I think at 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. IST it used to come on TV, and
Hmm.
everyone used to be so obsessed about it. And there was this another show about cricket, I guess. If you
Right.
though you might remember, it used to come at 10
Yeah.
on Star
Right.
Sports,
Correct. Correct.
10 or
Correct.
10:30 somewhere around that. And those two shows were like a quintessential part of our lives back in like the early 2000s.
Right. I think when I started watching Sports Center, it was around 10 and 10:30. So 10 would be English, 10:30 would be Hindi. And
Mhm.
at that time, my mom would be very strict about my sleeping schedule. So if I was awake at 10 and she would be okay with it, I would get to watch it, or I would watch it the next day. And the
That's
best
Yeah.
part
right.
was I would watch both English and Hindi, knowing that the content is same. I just loved that, and they covered all the sports, and it was basically the best package of every sport that
Right.
was going around in the world.
Mhm.
And so ऐसे देखते देखते, and one day I just came across Premier League was going on Star Sports, I think, and I just happened to watch a Liverpool game. Basically I loved how they played. मुझे तो बहुत अच्छा लगा.
Pehla
Uh,
Pehla Pyar plays in the background.
Right, exactly. And my favorite color is red. At that point of
Yeah.
time, red was my favorite color. So I was like, "ठीक है यार, this team is playing so nicely. I just want to
Right.
follow." So, and it was 2006, 2007. We were still like a pretty good team at that point. And
Mm-hmm.
I said, "धीरे धीरे धीरे," it just became more like, now the focus was on Steven Gerrard at point, and I was like, "Man,
Right.
this guy." And that fanboyishness kind of became like obsession at a point, because uh at one point, I don't know if you guys remember, there used to be a sports newspaper. I forget the name. Sports
Sports
Star.
Star.
Sports Star, right?
Sports
Yes.
Star. Yeah. Sports
So
Star.
Sports Star would have like all these articles, and I would like take a cutout of everything. I remember
Yeah.
जब uh, क्राउच ने गोल मारा था बेशिक्टास के अगेंस्ट दैट ओवरहेड किक, दैट वाज द हेडलाइन एंड दैट वाज द पिक्चर दैट केम इन द न्यूज़पेपर. I still have my scrapbook where I cut that thing out. I pasted it in a notebook and I wrote with a sketch pen with my handwriting, just the same headline. But the fun that I had just collecting Liverpool memorabilia. I think even Craig Bellamy wala, when he did that golfer wala celebration
Right.
with John Anarisa, with the history that they
Do
had
you,
then.
uh, do you know about that reference? I can actually tell it was a very good story, actually. Very,
Yeah.
not a
Please
good story.
go for
Huh,
it.
I kind of got it later, the reference, but
huh.
मुझे ये नहीं पता था कि if it was a serious thing or if it was just
It was
random.
a serious thing actually. जॉन आर्नोल्ड ने बाद में एक इंटरव्यू में बोला था. तो this is
Hmm.
a I won't say an interesting story, but this was a revelation actually. What happened was it was a Champions League match, and the Liverpool players were out for drinks. So what? Something happened that there was some sort of fight or some sort of scuffle between John Arnorisa, a Liverpool left back, a very good left back actually, and Craig Bellamy, both are Liverpool players. Now, what happened was that he got very irritated, Bellamy, and at night he came to John Anarisa's room with a hockey stick. I guess that was insane. Yeah,
Oh,
he came with a
He came with a golf club
golf stick
basically.
with a golf
Yeah.
stick. Sorry, a golf stick. Sorry, he came with a golf stick, and he was going really good. I think he hit him also like a couple of times, as much as read in those stories.
oh, I
And it
mean,
was that incident didn't go down well with the management and all.
certainly,
And
certainly not
John,
a very, certainly not a very fine moment of a
yeah,
footballer's
and as
career.
soon as Bellamy scored, he did that celebration.
With
And
Oh,
John Anarisa. Like he's
yeah,
doing this and John Anarisa is behind him. I mean, I think at the end of the day, everything was really fine between the players. They came to in the moment it happened. But like those kind of moments when they came into the newspaper, I still have that scrapbook. I was so proud of it. And then I transitioned from there to IIT coaching, and so now my football is completely gone. All of it is just through newspapers. And
yeah,
oh, sorry, I was in ninth standard, so I was still watching TV. Okay, but at
yeah.
that time, this whole thing was about Torres coming to Liverpool, and I was like really that Torres from Atletico would come to Liverpool, and like that snag of a signing. And those two seasons, like 2007 and 2008, it was so good. And then the 2009 post 2009 era bankruptcy and all of that happened, and Liverpool went back into the slump. Unfortunately, at this point I was in undergraduate school, and so undergraduate school mein hamare hostel mein every block on the first floor had a TV. And so
Okay.
it would be just a bunch of Man United fans, a bunch of Arsenal fans and Chelsea fans, and like probably the only two or three Liverpool fans who were in the hostel at that point of time. And so always been mobbed by people around. And then obviously we were not doing that great. I mean, Luis Suarez came in, and so it became a bit better, but still
Yeah.
not that great.
What did did you text any of those Man United friends you have 3 days ago?
Like my whole undergraduate was just like Facebook was also becoming big at that time. So every time a Liverpool United game happened, or even just Liverpool lost or drew, like there would be a barrage of things. And Mera most of the time was just being on Facebook and trying to reply everybody. My blood's boiling. I just sometimes I'm writing incoherent stuff. Just it is just censored stuff of what's up here. And so it was just all that. And then probably 2015, around that time, I just thought, I can't do this. And then definitely this resilience has come in me, where I've like every team will have this phase of being at the peak, and then a transition of
right.
being getting
Yeah.
back to that point. So when I had that realization, I have never gotten into a banter ever. Even there is a group on Facebook called Football is in Our Blood, kind of a group where they're like almost 2 lakh people are members, more than that, for that group. There is daily banter going on, and I look at the comments and I'm like, man, there's just
We
no
can be
energy
better
in.
than this. We
Yes.
can be better than this. So,
And then even recently there was this undergraduate friend of mine, we used to play football together, and he started texting me out of nowhere. Then Madrid battered us, then he's texting me Liverpool is losing, he's texting me. I've never replied once. I think after Madrid game, I just kind of like blocked him, because I don't want this toxicity in my
yeah,
life. And
absolutely.
so I would say ki I have gone through the transition of being this rambunctious fan to a fan who understands that every team will have this phase of peak and troughs. And so I've become more rational. I don't get into these trash talks. Maybe these things are more confined to LFC Ahmedabad group, because there are definitely factions of people who think a certain way and want the club to work in a certain way. So the journey has been
Yeah, but
pretty long.
that's
And
pretty interesting because for someone who has gone through so much, I mean,
oh yeah, yeah.
you mentioned how you started following Liverpool from 2006,
So
the
17
bankruptcy
years now,
2000.
it's been
Yeah,
Yeah.
crazy journey.
yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot. But then from all that history, let's
Hmm.
come right to the present. And Anukar sir, I'll just put keywords out there and feel free to, just throw away your first reaction. 7-0 score, man. That's a big annihilation for
Hmm.
any match, let alone Manchester United being at the other end. With
Hmm.
that form, with that manager, with that Eric Ten Hag's mentality of I'm gonna change things, I'm the third best team this season, and now
Right.
suddenly Liverpool is fifth in the table. So, Anukar sir, how do you see it, this match?
I mean, it was a match which I think is, well, for me, I think it's the best Liverpool Premier League match I have watched. I would say, and it's not just about the scoreline, but because it was Manchester United. I mean,
Yeah,
you could see how much it meant to us, how much it meant to the people. And in the second half, there were six goals. And to see each of them coming in, and like it felt that every Liverpool attack would result into a goal.
Yeah.
That's
hmm,
how good it was, and it was domination. It was like, as like you might know better, India versus Australia in the first two test matches. It was that good, you
yeah,
know. The first
absolutely.
test match especially, it was that good, and I mean honestly, like Liverpool dominated from start to finish. To get see play both of the three to see all the three forwards getting a brace each felt so good, and for me it really marked the start of something really good. Starting from now, Liverpool can really start to improve, and
Yeah,
with this we can get to a better end, better business end to the season as well. We can also look for maybe a good fight back at the Bernabeu. So
yeah.
I think it
Roshan,
was a step in the right direction.
yeah, Roshan, please tell me that you are still in the after effect of that emphatic win.
Ha, I mean, yesterday morning I got up and I tweeted from the LFC Ahmedabad Twitter, and I said that it is Tuesday and we are still buzzing. I think it is more of a effect of we had a pretty average, below average season, and so having a result like this is definitely uh, worthy of a celebration and more in that sense.
Yeah,
And I think more than Liverpool, I did not think that this was the result that I expected at all, or there was in my mind at least. I thought we
yeah,
might scrape through. It would be a good game, but when I saw the squads and when I saw how United lined up, I think they just missed the trick by not putting Rashford to Trent, because that's the challenge that you want to have is Trent Alexander-Arnold being a more attacking defender. He would leave spaces, and Rashford was operating really well from the left hand side. And so I think United missed that trick by putting Bruno there and putting Rashford through center, because they wanted to exploit the Liverpool's ability to play
yeah.
from the back. And
True.
that way, what happened when they started pressing, they were leaving Robbo alone, and Robbo had a much freer game as compared to Trent in that sense. And so I think tactically United lost it, as like the setup they came with, it didn't work. And I think first half was also fine. I think I they just let their heads down at the second and third goal, to be honest. Even at
Yeah,
3-0, you could still be like, okay, we'll be resilient, हम लोग को come back करना है. 3-1, 3-2 as a scoreline doesn't look bad, but I think at one point they just gave up, and then Liverpool was sharp enough to capitalize on that. And it,
Absolutely.
yeah,
yeah.
if Liverpool was as flat as they were against Crystal Palace, this might would have been 1-0 again, just because Cody Gakpo scored a really good goal. If we were
Kept.
not sharp, would not have been a 7-0. So I think it's good to see the midfield ticking. Biggest thing I saw was Fabinho's upturn in
Oh, right.
mental
Yeah,
fortitude of he went from a really good player to someone who has completely forgotten how to play football, to now back to reaching to those second balls, winning those second balls, tackling in the attacking half. It was really good to see him back that way. And so when Fabinho is doing this, Henderson is free to do Henderson stuff. Harvey Elliott is free to do Harvey Elliott stuff. So I think it clicked really well. So
yeah.
I
I
would
think
be
that's
still
the
pragmatic about Madrid game. Like I would still say if
Yeah,
Liverpool went there and won 3-2 that leg and just lose the tie, even winning at Bernabeu would be a good boost of confidence, because we have never been able to do that. So
yeah.
if we do that
One
this
of the
season, yeah.
that's one of the segues that I had planned. But
Hmm.
yeah, Anukar sir, we often keep talking about this, that in sports, it's a famous saying that as winning becomes a habit, losing can also become a habit. And Liverpool has really endured a really difficult time against Real Madrid. But okay, I mean, no, I'm just kidding and all. But I am a, you could say, borderline Real Madrid fan. But I also agree with how Roshan in one of the earlier conversations with us mentioned about how banter sometimes can be taken a bit too far. But coming back to the topic, 5-2 Real Madrid in the second leg next week. Anukar sir, do you think Liverpool can probably pull off the improbable and probably, kick Real Madrid out of the Champions League next week? Imagine, because why I ask you this is nobody 3 days ago, as Roshan asked you, just said, nobody expected, even the staunchest, even the most ardent Liverpool fan would have said that 7-0 is a bit too much. So next week, you just never know, right, Anukarsh? Sir.
Well, I think I have a better answer to this. Like me and Doi, we have been, thinking about things that we introduce into the indie football podcast. But
Yeah.
like this week, we have started to come up with a concept. It's called a cricketing point of view, and I think Doi can
Yeah.
talk about how, how an innings by Virat Kohli against Australia to chase 300 plus absolutely turned everything around. And though you can describe that innings better, in which
Yeah.
Are
I
you?
think it was short into 40 overs, I guess, 33 or
Uh-huh.
40 overs.
Yeah, I think
In
it
the,
was the match against Sri Lanka.
yeah,
Yeah, the
Yeah,
Hobart game in
yes,
was it
2012.
against
yes.
Sri
Yes.
Lanka or was it against Australia?
It was Sri
Yeah,
Lanka.
it was against Sri Lanka when
It
we
was
had to score
it was
We
in
had to,
Australia, right?
that amazing
yeah,
match.
it
Yeah.
was a
Uh,
tie series, and we had to win it under 40 overs or 38 overs, something
right,
like
right.
that, to get that net run rate up to qualify for the finals, basically. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that game definitely is very vivid in my memory.
Yeah.
And I think
Anuga,
that is
please
one of
go
the comebacks that we can maybe look to expect from Liverpool this time around, because
Mm,
that time nobody expected it, right?
mm.
Like for India to chase such a total in overs that were lessened at that point of time. So I think anything can happen in sport, may it be cricket, may it
Uh,
be football. We can hope for the best, but of course we prepared for the worst, because as Liverpool fans, we have seen the worst this season.
I think I have two perspectives on this, and I
Yeah.
think it is a Real Madrid perspective and a Barcelona perspective. I'll say, let's not consider uh, the stature of these clubs, and let's just talk about just two teams playing. So if we see against Barcelona also, on a return leg at Anfield, you were still playing against Messi, Busquets, Suarez,
Suarez,
and this kind of a squad that could demolish any team in front of you. And
absolutely.
so if you consider that, then we are capable of like doing a miracle for sure. Also it was at Anfield, and also I would say Barcelona और Madrid के बीच का difference ये है कि Barcelona has choked at these positions previously also. If you take that Chelsea game where they drew 2-2 at
Hmm.
um, at Camp Nou, where Torres scored that famous half line goal, or like running from the half line, they have choked at a semi-final there. Even against Liverpool,
बार्सिलोना साउथ
historically.
अफ्रीका है मुझे लगता है चैंपियंस लीग की कभी
Right,
कभी.
right, right. Barcelona has this history of choking, so therefore, even with a squad of Messi, Suarez, you could say कि हाँ, on a given day, Liverpool could do it, and they did it that day. For Madrid, मेरा perspective ये है कि Madrid, when it comes to Champions League, they're completely a different team. I think they should
Absolutely.
wear a different home jersey, which is just for UCL, because they're animals, and they're animals on some drugs, like when they come to
Yeah,
Champions League.
absolutely.
Because historically also, even the year when we lost to them in 2018, they were not necessarily having a really good league season, and then they went on to win the Champions League. So it has been that. So we are fighting against two mentalities, where one has choked before and one has shown the fortitude. Even last season was like from quarterfinals and upwards, they had to come back on return legs and win it. So that's why I feel Bernabeu would be a difficult miracle to turn up to.
Absolutely.
But I would not put it past players of Liverpool players, because they have historically done it, and we have always like been like, "Arey, how did this performance come?" So it
Yeah.
could be that day, but I will say Madrid can still put past a goal or two that would put the aggregate in their favor. But if we still win at Bernabeu, I would take that win any day.
Yeah, absolutely. There are two perspectives that Roshan mentioned that also made me think about it. It is something that I'm not speaking just specifically about this match, but about these two teams, like Real Madrid, and I'm sure Anukash would remember in one of the early episodes when we were speaking about what makes Real Madrid so special when it comes to the Champions League. I think it's just the history, it's just the culture, it's just how they have turned up every single year in the Champions League, and the intimidating factor that they carry with themselves every time they go to a Champions League match. On the other hand, Liverpool, if I am a neutral fan, I am almost Liverpool has become my second favorite team now because Anukar sir and the influence of Liverpool has been heavy. But I feel sometimes when a team goes through such a difficult season, it becomes even more out of your sights to believe or have the faith that we can go to the home of the best possible of the best team that have performed so well in this tournament and win it. So the mental block even before the first kick of the ball in that match is going to be a massive factor, right, Anukas sir?
Hmm.
Absolutely, man. I mean, the mentality is what that matters. A few seasons ago, when we won the Premier League, it was, speculated upon that we used to always come back from one goal down or goals down to win it, and we were called mentality monsters.
Yeah.
Now we are called the ones with no mentality because of certain times when we were really pegged down
I
by
for
considering a lot in
Sorry,
the
for that there is one beautiful phrase. It is called "No football, all vibes." No tactics, all vibes. Sorry, yeah,
No
no tactics,
tactics
all vibes.
always.
Absolutely. I mean, Darwin Nunez at the start of the season was definitely that, a quintessential example of that.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, a lot of things have happened with Liverpool this season, and it has been a roller coaster ride. In our podcast, also, we have talked about the happiest parts of Liverpool. We have talked about the sad days of Liverpool. But at the end of the day, that's sports and that's life. So कभी sometimes अच्छा sometimes bad. तो ऐसा होता है, you don't know कभी खुश रहने की बात होती है, कभी दुखी होने की बात होती है. You don't know कब क्या होने
Yeah,
वाला है. But I think
correct.
that is the reason sports viewers over this country, keep tuned in to watch their favorite team, may it be any sport, and that's the reason our listeners come every week to listen to the Indie Football Podcast or listen to LFC Ahmedabad because
Yeah.
they love to watch or listen to us talking about the beautiful game, the unpredictabilities that come with it, and that's what we try to serve. And I hope we have served in this episode, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, just before we sign off by asking Roshan whatever he thinks, anything that he has to say at the end, I'll just say that to pass your PhD degrees, you are often asked to prepare a dissertation paper. Right. So
Yeah.
if someone asks me or Anukar sir to prepare a dissertation paper for Liverpool at some point of time, we'll just go through all the Liverpool episodes that we have got, and we have done a very holistic breakdown of the good times, bad times, challenging
Right.
times, exciting times, everything. But
Right.
Roshan, thank you for doing this with us.
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
really appreciate your time here. Do you have anything to share with us before we wrap this up?
Uh, uh, so again, LFC Ahmedabad is we've made a New Year's resolution saying that we will come up with fair bit of content this time. I think the only problem that happens is we all are in very different time zones. We have European people, we have people in America, Canada, and in India. So थोड़ा consolidate करके करने में and just to get that machine running, we are also learning a lot of new things thanks to Darshan and just us trying to play around with stuff. We have learned a lot. So I would say to your listeners, go check out LFC Ahmedabad
Yeah,
Instagram and Twitter.
absolutely.
We try to be quirky here and there, and then our podcast, obviously. We have a really good faction of two people who are completely different mindsets of how Liverpool runs. So if you want like a little bit of spice in podcast and not so happy going, then you can always come back to LFC Ahmedabad because life में सब अच्छा नहीं चाहिए, थोड़ा सा spice
Yeah,
तो चाहिए. So we are
yeah.
ready, we are there to provide you with that. And thank you guys for bringing
Always a
me
pleasure.
here. I've been following your guys' progress, and it's been amazing. The guests that you have gotten, the conversations you have had. I would love to be in every podcast with you guys when you do
Yeah,
it. So,
absolutely.
but
Likewise.
really love this.
And
That's very kind of
special
you.
mention to Anukar sir, who's on a trip. He's outside. He still managed to be here on time. He still
Yeah.
managed to do all the, communications of the WhatsApp group that we have had that I could not do. But Anukar sir, thank you for always being there. Thank you for being the backbone of this podcast. Looking forward to another Liverpool episode, probably anytime soon. Uh, what do you think? I mean, what do you think of this entire episode where we have had Roshan speaking about LFC, a club that you like so much, so passionately?
I mean, it's great. See, as getting a Liverpool fan on board at the first start, I would be honest. Like,
Yeah.
it's the indie football podcast, but then a certain Liverpool bias, a wee bit of Liverpool bias, it comes with it.
All
I
right.
will admit at the 45th time of asking. And yeah, I mean, honestly, like it's good when you can have a heart-to-heart conversation with someone about it, and especially like after this match, I mean, it was totally worth leaving everything else to talk about the Liverpool Man U match. And like the indie football podcast over the past 1 year, what like we have realized is that more than football, it's about stories of people, how much football is influencing their lives, how much it has
Absolutely.
grown. And for us, it's an absolute pleasure hosting people, talking to them, knowing about their lives. And every episode, we learn something new. And that's the information we want to give to our viewers. That's the information we want to give to our listeners. And that's what we hope to provide every week on our Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Like Doipan has been doing a wonderful job on Twitter. Like doing tweets so regularly isn't easy. I myself can just go the whole day scrolling on Twitter, but can hate to absolutely tweet anything. So yeah,
Yeah.
like
I
as with LFC Ahmedabad, we also are trying here to give our best, and that's
Now,
a football community. We can just
yeah.
keep growing, and that's it. That's the end of this episode. And thank you everyone for listening. Thank you everyone for tuning in. And we at the Indie Football Podcast and at LFC Ahmedabad would love to keep bringing out great content, and we just hope you can keep supporting us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys. Good night. Take care.
Bye, guys. Bye.
Bye.